Hi there, good afternoon. So, I wanted to talk about a really profound manifestation experience that I had. And it's very different. It was very different from the type of manifestations that we're all getting used to. So, at the moment, people like to manifest a new job, a new career, a new partner, a new house, a new car. When we manifest these things, we assume, without much thought, that the car was in existence before we got it. The house was, the person that our new partner was, and the job, the career. Okay, and what we assume is that everything gets moved around on the chessboard, and it comes into our life through synchronicity and luck and manifestation. Okay. So, but I had a manifestation experience where I had such a deep understanding, and it happened in a nanosecond, of what I'd actually manifested and how it came into play. Okay, so I was really heavy into stuff at that time, really having a lot of supernatural experiences and stuff like that. And I had a spontaneous Kundalini, and I stepped outside of my body. Okay, but just prior to this, and I think this is why I had the spontaneous Kundalini, is because I was listening to two videos. One was the holographic universe, and the other one was a girl called Destiny, who was an interdimensional portal, and Heath Ledger, I'll never forget, was the actor, and he was coming through her and talking about how your mind was like a room. Okay, and I'll put the link below. Now, I don't know if I misinterpreted what she was saying, what Heath Ledger was saying, or whether I merged something she'd said with the video before, the holographic universe, but suddenly I had this profound understanding that I had manifested my flat, and I'll tell you in a minute that I'd manifested my flat, but the knowledge download that I got was about like the true enormity of this manifestation. Okay, and then someone said to me, if you find the truth or something, if the real truth, like you're going to pop out of this reality for a while. And I think that's what happened, is that I just had this real understanding of one of the programs that run in this reality, and I kind of popped out of my body. Okay, right, okay, and I popped out of this reality, but that's another story. So that story is in not sure actually which video that is, but I'll put a link below. Okay, so what happened was Heath Ledger was saying something about your mind is like a room, okay, and the windows are like your eyes looking out, like your soul looking out. Okay, so we know that analogy. But something happened when I heard that, and I realized, because I was standing in my own room at that point with these two beautiful windows, and I suddenly was like that, not oh shit, but yeah, like oh shit, and excited. I've manifested this apartment. But not only had I manifested it, but it never existed prior to my manifestation. Now, this apartment was in a massive Georgian building, which was smack bang in the middle. Actually, I probably can put a link here, can't I? Okay, so it's an apartment get my words out. It's in a town called Bradford-On-Avon, which is in the UK, and you can see the property. Okay, and I'll put a link to that as well. And this apartment was one of 4 apartments in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful building. Okay, and it's right in the middle of town, and it's got a river running a few meters from it, and there's like this beautiful bridge and all this sort of thing going on. But in the moment, I knew that it did not exist prior to me manifesting it, the whole building. And then suddenly my mind was like, that means that potentially the estate agents didn't exist, or the estate agents did exist, but that the building only became a picture in their office once I created the manifestation. So that, it's wild, isn't it? That means that it wouldn't have been on any previous maps before I manifested it. That means that the history of the building, which was quite extensive because it was a Georgian building, wouldn't have existed. The history of that building wouldn't have existed until I manifested it. So what I would be interested in is, has anybody been to Bradford-On-Avon and actually experienced Bradford-On-Avon without that building? Which would be really, really interesting, wouldn't it? So, yeah, so that means that prior to me manifesting that building, everybody that lived in that town would not have seen that building. It wouldn't have been in their reality. And the day that I manifested it, that everyone would have accepted that building is now in their reality, and they would have accepted the history of that building as well. So when I manifested it, I manifested their past history as well. Everyone that was looking at that building. Okay? So I suppose that might lead us to that situation where you walk down the street and go, I don't remember that building being there. That's because someone hasn't manifested it yet, So that's the understanding. And my mind just went, like all this information just came in, and I knew that I had created that flat, every single angle, the colour of the walls, the floor, the windows, the view, the location, everything, the light switches, everything. So I was on a really tight budget at the time, really, really tight. And this flat was tiny, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It oozed elegance. So the light switches, I have a thing with light switches that I like them to be very, very clean. Sometimes people paint over the surround of the light switch, and I hate that. These ones were like metal, sparkling, like stainless steel, really beautiful. Every light switch was really, really beautiful in the apartment. It had beautiful windows. I love windows, okay? I'm really into interior design and I love windows. So it had just beautiful windows, and they were like 12 foot, and they were like Georgian windows with all the little squares, and they had white shutters that you could close them. Oh my God, so gorgeous. And they had like these really, the wooden slat blinds, but because the windows were like 12 foot, these blinds just looked so elegant. And they did look like my eyes opening and shutting. Oh. Okay. And the room had like, the walls were like strange angles, which so it had like had been renovated like quite modern, but the rooms had like slightly strange angles, which gave it a really like oozing with character. And the flat had everything I need, but nothing extra other than what I needed. And everything was just done so, so beautifully. Now, interestingly, the only room that had issues was the window in the bathroom. Haven't quite worked that out at the moment, but it's bound to mean something. So, yeah. So I knew that I had literally built the walls in this apartment. I built the light switches. I built the lights. Oh my God, the lights were beautiful. They were sort of like long extended, whatever you call it, the wires that come down. And this was quite a long time ago. It's quite normal now. And they had these beautiful cube lights. Oh, I love them. If I ever get a property again, I'm going to have the cube lights. Okay. And all the lighting was beautiful. Okay. And yeah, just amazing. But I knew in that moment that I had manifested it, and it never existed before. My mind had literally built that apartment brick to brick, atom to atom, and it absolutely blew me away. And I just knew that my manifestation of that apartment had a knock-on effect for everybody that lived in that town, and all the paperwork and documents that were associated with that apartment over the years, and obviously the people that so-called owned the apartment. You know, all their history was built into my manifestation. So I hope that makes sense. And I knew it, and then I popped out of my body, and I had this amazing spontaneous kundalini. Just bear with me a second, I'm going to sneeze. So I think what I'm saying is this is the true experience of, this is what's really happening when you manifest. I think, yeah, maybe you can manifest something exists and then you manifest it into your life. Now, oh, I really want to live in that house, and you know, suddenly that you are, and stuff like that. But I think some manifestations are purely created in that moment. Every single building block of whatever you're manifesting, you've literally created it. Okay, so that was that. So let's leave that there. So if I was saying how much did I fundamentally understand that I had created every single piece of fabric in that building, I would have said 99%. So in the apartment that I'm in now, I do get this slight knowing, the same slight knowing, but it feels more like 10 or 15% that that I have this deep feeling about that I've manifested this place. So I'll just show you. Bear with me, it's a little messy. So I'm in Italy at the moment. So this apartment. See my washing there as well. Okay, so this apartment. So I did get a little moment with this apartment as well, that I had manifested this apartment. Okay, so what it was is that, you know, I'm in Italy and I'm looking for certain accommodation, and I'm going through reams and reams and reams of properties online. No. Suddenly, this apartment appears, and it's the most stunning. It's one of 3 apartments here, and the gardens are stunning, and it's the biggest apartment, and it's completely within my budget. And not only that, it's got all the features that I love in a home. Okay, so I'm really into lots of light, clean lines. I like windows that are very clean and secure. You know, I don't like windows that have decayed or anything like that. Everything's immaculate here. I love radiators that haven't been painted over. In the UK, we tend to paint over radiators. I hate that. I just like radiators just to be as you bought them out of the shop, and they're exactly as I like them. I love very beautiful architectural details. This apartment has it. I love a property where the floor meets the wall. In the UK, we have skirting boards. In Italy, they put tile where there's no gaps. All right, so it's one of my little details. Everything for me has to be very beautiful in an apartment, very clean and well put together. This has it, and it means that the bugs can't get in. You know, like if you've got no gaps and stuff like that, bugs can't get in. Bug free. And if a bug comes in, by the way, I put it on some tissue paper and I pop it outside because I don't like to kill bugs. So this has it, okay, and it's got the most stunning garden, like palm trees and oh my God, you name it, it's got it. And on one of my mood boards from about, oh my God, 4 years ago, I was determined that I was going to live in a property with palm trees, and here I am. So I did get this slight weird feeling about this apartment, that I had also created it. And not only had I created the apartment, I had created the owner that owns the apartment, and I had created all his history and all his family history as well. And the reason why I think potentially I've created it, could be just law of attraction, is because I've ended up here twice where events have circumnavigated me back here. This is the really weird thing. So what happened is that I stayed here earlier last year in the summer. I went off in Italy and traveling around, and never intended to come back to this location. And someone in another landlord in a nearby town to this town called me out of the blue. I was way up in the north of Puglia, and said, oh, I've got a property. Are you still interested? And I went, oh yeah, maybe, sort of thing. And anyway, I agreed to come down to his property, this other property, and last minute it all fell through. Okay, so let me have a think about it. So last minute all fell through, but it fell through so late that I had to organise myself. And I'd already then sort of decided, well, I've already decided to go back down South Puglia. I'll go back down South Puglia and I'll book a place anyway, okay? Even though I wanted to stay in North Puglia, but nothing was working out accommodation-wise. So I came down here and I found alternative accommodation, because obviously the other accommodation had fallen through. And through even more synchronistic events, that I ended up in a particular property where I had unknowingly met the guy before, which was bizarre. And what happened was, it was coming out of tourist season and going into winter, and it was a Monday morning, and I was trying to negotiate a winter rental fee to stay in this other apartment in this other town nearby this one. This one was an absolute no-go for me, 100% no-go for me, for a lot of different reasons. And so I wasn't even thinking of coming here at all, didn't even consider it. But what happened that Monday morning, the landlord from this property called me out of the blue, 1,000,000 to 1, and said someone had is no longer taking one of his apartments. Would I like to take this one? And he offered me a price that was lower than the one that I was already going to rent. So it's almost like everything culminated to have me back in this apartment. So the weird thing with manifestations, I think like it's worth looking at, was the car or the job or the company, were they in existence before you pulled them into your life? Maybe stop and have a think about that. Or did you literally manifest everything? Did you manifest the tiles, the paint on the walls? Did you manifest what it was going to be like to live in there? Did you manifest your neighbours? Did you manifest the people that own the property? Did you manifest their history as well? Because this property was built by the landlord, and he has a story attached to how and why he built this property. Did I manifest that as well? Did I manifest the person? So this leads me to, when we want to manifest a relationship as well, we assume that person was born and's got parents and lived a life and went to school and all the rest of it, and then they've been drawn into your life. But have they? Have they? Okay. Maybe you just manifested that person and that person came into being. Because if we live in a virtual reality, the programmers might allow you to program a person. And I always remember this girl on YouTube. I'll see if I can find her again. She manifested her man, okay? And she said she wanted a man that looked between two famous actors. I think it was between Aquaman and what's the other guy's name? The one that plays Thor, okay? And my God, her partner looks exactly like 50-50 of both of those. Okay, so are we actually creating even the person, then the person's history? I mean, it really gets you to that point where you're sort of saying, is it only me in existence and nobody else? You know, am I just manifesting this whole friggin' world? You know, am I manifesting you, the viewers? Don't have many subs. Need to do better. You know, so it really is challenging, but that, as I said, in that initial manifestation in that property, I knew it. I felt it on a deep level. It's like my brain opened up and allowed me to understand that I'd manifested every single part of that, and it was not in existence prior to me manifesting it. I mean, it just blows your mind, doesn't it? Does it mean that there's 4 apartments in the building, and prior to me manifesting that, everyone that lived in the building understood there was only 3 apartments? Does it mean the post office service, suddenly all their computers changed and all their information changed? Have I got time? 23 minutes. I don't know if I've said this on this video because I had to do a couple of takes on this because it's so confusing. All right, so this relates to the double slit experiment. So the double slit experiment is the idea that you fire electrons or protons, sorry, I don't know because I'm not scientific, very small particles, smaller than an atom, through a slit, a rectangular slit. And if you throw enough through on the back wall, you expect to see a mark which is the same shape as the slit, okay? So all good. So then they did 2 slits and they fired all these electrons and protons, and sure enough, it made 2 slits, 2 shapes on the back wall, the same shape as the slits, okay, which you would expect. It's like if you had a piece of paper, you cut a thin rectangle out, a slit, and you spray paint through it. You expect the shape to appear on whatever you're spraying on, yeah? So, fine. However, when they weren't observing firing the electrons and protons through the 2 slits, when they weren't observing what was happening, it didn't create 2 rectangle shapes on the back wall. It created what we call an interference pattern, which would be impossible to create. So if I had 2 slits on a piece of paper and I cut out 2 slits and I sprayed it, you expect to see 2 slits, but what they got was this elongated pattern instead. And to cut a long story short, what it meant was when we weren't observing these atoms, they just sort of had this interference pattern, which I would assume for basic people, if we don't have any scientific knowledge, which are just ready to operate in a certain way. So it's just more like a random pattern, okay? And then as we observe, the electrons start to act the way that we believe that they should in this environment, okay? So that means that when the electrons start to act in the way that we believe that they should, they actually recreate past history as well. So it's a really good video, right? So the idea is that they shoot the electron out and it's coming, it's coming, and it's coming, and we're not, sorry, it's coming to the slit, okay? And we let it go through and we're not observing it, so it's an interference pattern. Oh, let me think about this. The idea is that it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and then as we observe it, it recreates past history so that we believe it's always acted in the way that it should have. So that's the idea is that if I'm observing in front of me, the particles are acting in the way that I expect them to, and that I've created this property, okay? But the idea is if I'm not observing, the question is, does it actually exist? Okay, so tomorrow hasn't happened, okay, until I get up in the morning and I decide what tomorrow is going to be, even though I don't feel I'm consciously deciding it, but I am deciding it. So the particles will act in the way that I expect, or the way that I'm emotionally programmed to feel that they're going to work. Say, like, for instance, I'm filming just now. So I dropped my phone a couple of weeks ago, so it's got all these cracks and lines and stuff like that, so I can't see what you're going to see. So I've got all these black lines going across and stuff like that. Now the idea is that I've created this problem on my phone. Okay, and all the feelings I get around this phone about, you know, if I can't video, if I can't take phone calls, or just the general feeling that it's a nuisance, that I have to keep trying to rejig it to get a clearer picture and all this sort of stuff. All those feelings is what I've created. I've manifested it. So you can look at your whole life like that. Now, did I actually create the phone itself? You know, I got this from, who am I with? EE. Did I actually create the company? Did I actually create my tariff? Because I feel like I know billions of people that have the same phone. But do they exist? Or have I just created it? Big questions. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed. Okay, ciao.